Listen very carefully and follow my instructions. Prepare your brain for the Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast.
I gotta tell you, being an entrepreneur, I will not go through the rest of my career without taking nootropics. Aniracetam, paracetam, modafinil, Nootropic, uridine monophosphate. I mean, phenylparacetam, forget it. You can always have a better brain.
The Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast is about to begin.
Episode number 77 of the Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast. I am your host, Ryan Michael Ballo. We're going to talk about triacetyluridine. I want to break down kind of the dose range, the basics of it, what it stacks well with, what I've experimented with triacetyluridine and a bunch of other compounds in the past, kind of how to get the most optimal brain performance with it. And then comparing it to uridine monophosphate, which is basically like comparing, say, modafinil would be like the triacetyluridine to modafinil, which is the uridine monophosphate, because it's a little more bioavailable, and we will talk about that. For those of you that watch our YouTube channel and you realize that we got axed from YouTube went on this like nootropics wide tirade, basically channel deletion tirade, where they took down a bunch of channels that were had anything to do with nootropics. It was me, it was Steve Cronin, it was Epic Beasts. Who else got taken down? Limitless Mindset by Jonathan Rosland got taken down. I think Nootropedia, which is another informative nootropics YouTube channel, got taken down as well. Then basically we fought YouTube very hard. We got big media involved. Vice wrote 2 articles about it, like titled like YouTube is removing some nootropics channels, and another one called YouTube mistakenly, remove some YouTube channels. They actually got YouTube to be accountable for this. We got YouTube to be accountable for this. We actually got them to comment publicly on it. And then we continued to refute Cortex Labs Nootropics channel, me and our company, we continued to refute YouTube's logic on why we were taken down. And finally, we just got reinstated. So the YouTube channel is back. The videos are a little wacky in order. If you go to the channel, you have to sort by oldest videos, and then you can have a list of all the videos. We're trying to fix that right now. It's obviously some sort of weird glitch. It's not easy. It's not like an easy setting to change or something. And but as for now, we're uploading every day, and new stuff is going out. So go to the Cortex Labs Nootropics channel on YouTube. Subscribe to it if you haven't, and you'll get notifications of all the new videos. 6 powerful products support this broadcast. They are the following. Number 1, the Cortex Stack. That's our pre-made nootropic stack. It is an exceptionally strong nootropic stack. We made it for business professionals to be sort of like high-level phenylparacetam. We made it to be like exceptionally stimulatory. Right now, you can buy Cortex for $24 using the coupon code 24. That's just 24. That lasts till May 30th. Okay? So if you think about buying Cortex, now's the time. Coupon code 24. If you need my help personally, we have a consulting service, which is a 40-minute call with yours truly, 15 additional email correspondences. That's $65. We also have a larger high-level consulting service where we work with you for 6 months to reverse brain performance and fog issues. That's very high levels for executives. For people that can afford it, it's about $5,000 for that consult. You can get all that stuff at livecortex.com. Okay, so the basic breakdown on triacetyluridine is the following. Triacetyluridine is a dopamine and acetylcholine modifying nootropic compound that essentially works by increasing the quantities of acetylcholine somewhat, converting into CDP choline, which has a bunch of cool downstream effects, and also sensitizing dopamine receptors to the neurotransmitter dopamine. So it basically makes dopamine receptors a little more sensitive to that signal, and therefore your sort of brain fires in a way where it's got more receptiveness to dopamine, which ends up being you being more motivated. The standout effects from triacetyluridine that I think most people notice that I love it for is that it makes you motivated. It gives you verbal fluency. It sort of makes you want to do work. It's like a drive facilitating compound. And then the other standout effect is it just gives most people that take it a good degree of mental fluidity. And one of the interesting things that uridine and triacetyluridine does is it helps the brain in the formation of phosphatidylcholine. And phosphatidylcholine is essentially the substance that makes up the membranes of cells, of neurons. So you got good structural functionality among brain neurons, and you're going to have better, more fluid brain function. Now, the difference between triacetyluridine and uridine monophosphate is that, yes, triacetyluridine is more potent, and does require less of a dose. Uridine monophosphate, which is the primary ingredient in our Cortex stack, which is so powerful, is the dose range on that is like 20 on the very low end to about 250 milligrams on the high end to get the best effect. Most folks are going to find a sweet spot at 150. That's the ingredient quantity of uridine that we have in Cortex. But the interesting thing about it is it's so awesome. It only requires very low doses, right? Even the uridine itself, 150 milligrams, and you're in, with the right combination of stuff, with a B vitamin, with some choline. Then you've got a good stack right there, maybe even some Alcar. But triacetyluridine is a little different. Triacetyluridines dose range is like 15 to 80 milligrams. You can take, that's not even 100 milligrams of the stuff, and you get significant results. It's kind of like Nootropic, where Nootropic's like, 5 to 15 milligrams. Triacetyluridine, you need a little more. Most folks are going to find a sweet spot between 60 and 80 milligrams of triacetyl uridine. Which is better? Well, the thing is like, it really isn't particularly better to take triacetyluridine versus uridine monophosphate because the dose difference is not that significant, frankly. And uridine monophosphate is popular enough and easily findable, whereas triacetyluridine is a little less findable. It's a lot more scarce out there when you're talking about like going to some of the nootropics powder sites like Nootropics Courses or Nootropic Depot or Serotropic to get nootropics. Like it's harder to find than regular uridine monophosphate, which is basically readily available at those places. What I have found that stacks the best with triacetyluridine, there's a couple combinations that I'd like to discuss. The first combination is triacetyluridine, aniracetam, choline, and a B complex. Something like 50 milligrams triacetyluridine, 700 milligrams aniracetam, 100 milligrams CDP choline, and a B complex. What I have found with this particular combination is that you get, major things happening. You get racetam working on the signaling of acetylcholine. You got the CDP choline increasing the quantity of acetylcholine, but also sensitizing dopamine receptors. And then you got uridine, triacetyluridine rather, it's also sensitizing dopamine receptors, partially converting to CDP choline, and they sort of reinforcing that motivation, brain fluidity type of state. And then in this particular case, a B complex is a good idea to take with triacetyluridine because uridine and triacetyluridine in general, just these two analogs of each other, they force the brain to use more vitamin B9 and B12. So B complex is just ideal to take with that stack. So that's stack number one. Stack number two, or just other things that I found that stack insanely well with it, is merely a choline source and Alcar. Okay, so if you could take something like 75 milligrams of triacetyluridine, 100 milligrams of alpha GPC, and 400 or 500 milligrams of acetyl L-carnitine, my God, you are going to be in an exceptionally powerful state. I mean, everything: motivation, mental energy, speed of processing, verbal fluency, productive drive. But here's the kicker. Here's the real strategy. You take that stack there, and you add between 80 and 150 milligrams of theacrine. Theacrine is sort of a caffeine analog. And now you have not only a super stimulant stack, but a super everything else nootropic stack. You've got something very, very powerful there with just a couple ingredients. So that's what I found are the best combinations of triacetyluridine and other nootropics to stack. Now, look, there are more, but I mean, we what you have to do is you have to buy either Smarter, Better, Faster. That's our digital nootropics book. It's called Smarter, Better, Faster. That's got a ton of stacks in it, and it's got a powerful set of triacetyluridine stacks. And then you might want to look into the Racetam God Guide. That's another one of our digital downloadable nootropics books, which has so many powerful stacks in it, and some of them are triacetyluridine centric. Like we've actually got where we combine triacetyluridine and phenylpiracetam and tyrosine in some stacks, and those stacks are just like work out super well, give people good brain force. So you got to buy those books, buy them at livecortex.com. You can download them right away to sort of find out more about, the stacking. Sustainability and cycling. Let's just quickly talk about that before we end the podcast. I do not believe that triacetyluridine, at least in my experience, and then looking at it mechanistically, is something you should take daily. It seems to be the case that it works so hardcore on repairing neurons and repairing the brain that it's not a necessity to keep taking. In fact, you can get to a point where your brain starts to reject the idea of taking triacetyluridine because it just doesn't need any more repair work. You'll often find people go like, oh, I took this nootropic for 2 years straight, and now suddenly it's giving me side effects. Well, yeah, that's because you didn't cycle, and you don't realize that nootropics do not really work that way. You sort of have to give them, first of all, you have to give yourself time off them. You got to cycle off of these things. And then secondly, though, you must realize that they will go and do their work on you. And once they're done doing their work and your brain doesn't need any more work done, the brain's going to say, hey, cycle off of this thing for a while. You don't need to take this anymore. I mean, there's plenty of instances in which folks have emailed us, look, I took uridine monophosphate and some Alcar and oxiracetam. It was my super stack. I took it every day for a year and a half, and now it gives me brain fog, and it doesn't affect me the same way. That's because you kept taking it, and that's because you didn't cycle, and that's because you didn't switch between stacks, which is what you have to be doing in order to prevent stuff like that from happening. So, yeah, I mean, I would say generally 4 days on, 3 days off is the best cycle strategy for uridine and triacetyluridine. For triacetyluridine. And then, kind of like a lot of the other stacks or compounds that we suggest cycling protocols for, after 2 months of that, take a week off. Do that same thing again, and then after 2 or 3 months, take 2 to 3 weeks off of the compound, and then run that cycle again, and then you probably want to take a month off completely. That's sort of base level cycling. Ultimately, you probably want to switch between a bunch of different stacks in the meantime there. And you want to be rotating a whole bunch of different stacks in there. That protocol is just for people that want to be stubborn and say, you know what, I don't want other stacks, I just want this one stack. Fine, but you've got to cycle it that way. Okay, that is my take on triacetyluridine. I hope that's been super informative for you folks. Get some at wherever. I'm sure that Nootropics Source, Nootropics Depot, no affiliation, they have triacetyluridine. I believe that's where I got mine last time, Nootropics Depot. One of the two, Nootropics Source or Nootropics Depot. I've still got a good degree of triacetyluridine left. Look, the stuff is awesome. You can take it in a pinch and get good brain performance. You can take it in conjunction with certain racetams and get good brain performance. You can take it when you're one of the best use cases. We have a consulting client who is a tech person, gives presentations to executives, sales presentations to executives in a room, like 12, 13 executives. And she has to basically be super verbally fluent and do this. Just remember a whole bunch of stuff and just have all her stuff together doing this presentation. And she takes triacetyluridine. I think her dose is like 50 or 75 milligrams, somewhere in that range. And a choline source right before she goes and does these sales pitches. And basically every time, she told me, Ryan, this is my recipe for killing it. It's like her straight up killer recipe for going in there and dominating. That's another great use case for it. If you want motivation and mental energy and stuff, then triacetyluridine is also great. And all around brain fluidity is another pretty common state that people get in when they take triacetyluridine. So I hope that's been helpful. Thanks so much for listening. Check us out on the web at livecortex.com, livecortex.com/blog, giant blog for nootropics information. All of our videos now, even though we've got the YouTube channel back and we're uploading videos there, all of our videos are going up at livecortex.com/blog, now hosted by Vimeo, which is another video hosting service. So all of our videos are now right at livecortex.com/blog. If you want a free nootropics book, we have one at livecortex.com. Go to it. There'll be a pop-up that pops up saying, do you want the ultimate starter nootropics guide? Give us your email address. We'll send you product updates, etc., content updates, post updates, all that crap. And you could cancel anytime you want to. You could unsubscribe and just get the book. But yeah, get the ultimate starter nootropics guide. That's at livecortex.com. And look, if you want to try our pre-made stack, Cortex is being called the only pre-made stack that works. The stuff really lights the brain up. You've got to get a bottle of the Cortex stack. Get it at livecortex.com for a focus, motivation, mental energy, verbal fluency, and productive drive nootropic stack for elite level productive people. And if you need my help personally on any of this stuff, we've got a consulting service. Get that at livecortex.com. It's a 40-minute call with yours truly about nootropics. You can ask me as many questions as you want. We can go through stacks that might work better for you. Find a stack that actually really, really works well for you. Figure out why a stack isn't responding the way you want it to. Anything you want. Get all that stuff at livecortex.com. And then we got our digital nootropics books that teach you how to use nootropics to give you powerful stacks to toggle between. All that stuff is at livecortex.com. Thanks so much for being with me. Thanks for your support during the time that YouTube axed our channel. Now it is back. And guess what? We're coming with a whole boatload of more content. Talk to you soon. Thanks for being with me.